Hi there and welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm IceMan and today we are going to be covering the latest update to the game. Update 3.20 I believe. I'm probably getting that totally wrong, we will check in just a minute. No, I think that's right. Anyway, I'm just going off on one, I'm totally nuts. So we're actually going to do it a little different this time. Usually I jump in, give you my opinion on the champions, how I think they're looking, whether or not they're any good, give you a breakdown on their skills for those that haven't actually seen the post. But we're actually going to start at the end because I feel today that is where the most useful information really is. So we're going to start here. So we've got a daily login rewards expansion. This will be the last addition to the daily login rewards, but fear not, it doesn't mean you'll no longer get anything. Instead, the final tier will reset and repeat after you've claimed your final reward. You won't lose access to the previous tiers either. All daily login rewards available until now still remain. The final tier is merely added to the very end, much like we've done in the past. So I've seen some people posting that they're actually really confused by this. They find it quite confusing. It makes sense to me. Whereas before we had a daily login tier whereby or box come up and it'd be different rewards on each day of the month and a champion at the end. This time my guess is there will be no champion involved. You won't get a free champion on this one, and much like we've been getting these daily little rewards, what you'll get is the last tier, the last set for your X amount of days will be a month's worth of rewards with a different reward each day, be it books, be it shards, be it food, be it like chickens, be it potions. Probably I'd imagine this time they're going to keep it a little cheaper and do a lot more of like the stuff you use in the forge for the upgrades there and everything. And what will happen is when you reach day 30, you'll jump back to day 1 on the next day of that last tier, so you'll then get another 30 days of picking up those same rewards again and then jump back again, and that's all it is. So it's just going to keep repeating that last tier. Why people seem to be confused about that, I don't know. It seems fairly self-explanatory really, but anyway, if you are confused, hopefully you're watching this now, you understand it, and you know, hopefully we'll get some slightly better rewards than what we've been getting from this sort of filler thing they've been doing, which, you know, is better than nothing, don't get me wrong, but I have been missing those shards and the chickens and the XP boosts and things like that. You know, obviously we have got some energy out of it and whatnot, but nothing really in the way of shards or anything, so it will be nice to get that. Anyway, we don't want to drag this on too long, so miscellaneous, more slots for your champion collection and artifact storage. Champions will go from 200 to 300, so that's an extra 100 champions you can have. Considering the rate they're adding champions, I think this is really kind of cheap and ridiculous. I get they've said that there's server issues that stop them from expanding too much. Well, that's where they need to work on their server side first and quickly, quite frankly, because, you know, an extra 100 champion slots when we were already clamoring for more months ago, and just in the last few months they've added probably 30-40 new champions. It's not going to be long before this is completely obsolete, if it's not already, to be fair. 700 to 1,000 slots on the gear. Again, you know, you've added all these extra new gears pieces. You've revamped the old gear pieces, making many of them more viable, so you actually have so many more pieces to collect and so many more places in the game to use different gear slots, with the Doom Tower and whatnot coming out, that again, it's good, don't get me wrong, it is good, but I hope that they're looking at improving this again straight away, so that within 6 months we get another boost, because otherwise you'll find straight away that 1,000 slots will not be enough. But it is good and it is an improvement, so, you know, good work Blarium, but please don't stop there, keep improving on it, keep building on it. And the next one, now I actually find this really big, and people call me an idiot for saying that when I said it in a previous video, but clan boss battles will always start in manual mode rather than auto battle. Now I know I was being an idiot, I'd forgotten about the whole fact that you could just drop out, not lose your key, come back in. And since then I have been doing that way, if I made a mistake on my rotations or they ran in on auto. But that's the thing, the main reason I had to constantly restart was because I'd get distracted by something for a split second, the battle would start, they'd come in on auto, they'd throw up all the wrong abilities, and I'd have to shut down the game, close it out, reload in, redo all that, and that having to do that any number of times is just a right pain. From now on, the clan boss will always start on manual rather than auto, and you put it in auto when you're ready for it. Makes so much more sense, and it's going to improve the lives of so many more people, I think, who play the game. So really good move, really happy with that. Good job, Plarium. And let's crack on with the champion dive, shall we? Shall we? I can speak English, I promise I can. I can't speak any other language, so I'd better be able to speak English. A few words in Spanish here and there, and one or two in German that I've forgotten mostly since I left school, so you know. Anyway, so we've got 3.20. I was right about that, thank God. Not sure when it's coming, still a bit vague on that. Actually, before we do any more news on this, I am going to say the news has dropped today that we are getting a 2x on Ancients this Friday. Now this video will hopefully come out today, which is I believe Wednesday. However, if it does come out tomorrow, because I run into issues or whatever, at least you'll still have some notice in advance. I'm hoping that the shard thing will start this week as well. I know they said it's coming, but I can't find the post that said when. I'm thinking it's coming this week, also on Friday, and he will come out. And then we'll get the shard, the 2x Ancients, and we'll probably get something else to coincide with that for the event. But don't quote me on that, I may be wrong. It may be next week that the shard champion's coming. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, 2x Ancients, one of the best times to pull shards in the game, hands down, because like obviously Sacreds give you more, but and have a higher chance, but they're so much harder to get. Voids equally as hard to get, but they don't actually have any higher chance than the Ancients. So by far the best time to get yourself some legendaries is when the Ancient shards are about, because it's so much easier to sort of save up a few here and there without buying them. I've not even really been buying any lately, and I've managed to get myself up to about 60. This is just from running clan boss every day and all the rest of it, and getting them dropping and buying them in the shop when they're available in the shop and whatnot. So you know, it's so much easier to get a good amount of those, and yeah, it's a good chance to pull some shards and hopefully get some decent champions. And you can expect to see a shard pull video from me probably coming out Saturday or Sunday, I should imagine, although I am at work, so those days, so we will see how that goes. Anyway, first off we have King Garog. He's a legendary force champion, attack based, with the Orcs faction. He's got a pretty nifty avatar here. He's A1, gigantic cleavers, attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 35% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. The chance increases to 50% if the target's turn meter is equal to or below 50%. You would have thought maybe it'd be more synergetic to do it the other way around, so that if they're closer to getting their turn, you manage to stun them and take them out and whatnot. But because they're the ones you're going to want to target, so now you've got to remember to target the people below 50 if you want a higher chance. That does not boost up on here. You've got 4 books here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books here, so that's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books here, 14 books. Alright, it's not totally ridiculous in the realms of 18, but it's still a lot of books, and I will say that Plarium need to get this sorted out. This is a major bone of contention, that you know, people are pulling shards, spending money on the game, going out of their way to get champions. Most of us don't earn thousands a month, have millions to blow on a game, so we can't buy the book packs as well as buying shards to get champions if we're going to spend it all. And many of your players are free to play. Now I know you're not going to cater to them 100%, but you know, you've at least got to keep the game going for them. And without them, the game would die because we'd lose so many people and nobody want to play it. So please Playarium, stop putting so many books on champions, especially legendaries, but any champions should not be that high. The max really should be 12 and that's it, and even then that's a lot when you're talking legendary books. So anyway, he's got a decent stun on his A1. It's only one enemy 2 times, 35% chance, goes up to 50, so you know, that's not too bad. Hack to Bits, his A2 attacks one enemy 4 times. Each critical hit has a 50% chance of decreasing the cooldown of Goremaker by 1 turn. Goremaker is his A3, so you've got a 4 hitter, so that makes him viable for the Fire Knight somewhat. 2 hitter on the A1, so that's pretty cool. And then we've got Goremaker, his A3 attacks all enemies, AoE. Will ignore 20% of each target's defense, will ignore a further 5% of defense for each buff on the target. So you hit somebody who's got a load of buffs, a load of shields and all the rest of it, that 20% is going to increase nicely by 5% each time, which is really cool. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, can be booked down to 3. Same with this one, 4-turn cooldown, can be booked down to 3. Takes a lot of books to get you there though, if you've got them. Then we've got his passive War Machine, increases this champion's speed by 6, crit damage by 7% for each enemy this champion kills in a round. So that's really cool. It is only per round, but still very interesting. And obviously, I would hope that that doesn't then drop off. So if you're doing dungeon clearing, you can like do some real damage, clear a wave, get a load of speed and crit damage, do more damage to the next round. If it drops off and resets, it's kind of like pointless, to be fair, but it'd make him okay in the arena. Going to boost his speed, boost his defense mitigation, so he's going to ignore more defense, do more damage, and that's pretty cool. And this Hack to Bits obviously reduces the cooldown of this. So his AoE, although it's on a 3-turn cooldown, can then be reduced, so you can almost get it down to a 3-turn cooldown, 2-turn cooldown, so you can do that quite often. So it's a fairly regular AoE with a lot of damage. So that definitely sounds like a very interesting champion. And then obviously speeding up crit damage and everything, that's good. Stacks up to plus 30 speed, plus 30 crit damage. Stacks will reset if this champion is killed. So it doesn't reset, it just unless they kill, which is cool. Whenever an enemy champion is revived, fills this champion's turn meter by 30% for each revived enemy, then places a 50% increase attack buff and a 30% increased crit damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. I absolutely love this. It basically, it's a way of going against the whole revive meta and everything, and it basically means he's just going to do more damage and go faster and get turns quicker if people are reviving. So yes, it's great, you can pick your people up, keep them in the fight, but when you're fighting against a guy like this and teams that are starting to do stuff like this, it might be that you're going to need to start thinking about building teams that are tankier and can survive and not need picking up in the first place and leaving your revivers at home. You couple this sort of thing with Lydia and you know, it's bonkers, absolute bonkers. So then we've got Roxanne. He's a legendary magic attack champion with the Lizard faction. They do need some champions, so that's a good move there. Orcs again, they haven't got a lot, so that's good. We've got Chroma Shift, attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of filling this champion's turn meter by 10%, also has a 50% chance of placing a perfect veil on this champion for 1 turn if the attack is critical. Again, this takes 1, 2, 3, 4 books there, 5 books there, and 5 books there, so 14 books again for this chap. Jungle Ambush is A2, attacks one enemy, fills this champion's turn meter by 50%. Has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff on the target for 1 turn when attacking while under a veil or perfect veil buff. So that's pretty cool. Has a 75% chance of placing a sleep debuff on the target for 1 turn when attacking without a veil or perfect veil. Places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns after attacking without a veil or perfect veil. So you've got a chance of sleeping if you don't have the veil, and then if you actually hit them, you're going to get the veil afterwards anyway, so that's pretty cool. This is on a 4 turn down to a 3 turn, same for this, 5 turn down to 4 turn. Flicker Step is a 3. While under a Veil or Perfect Veil buff, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing 60% decreased defense and a 25% weaken debuff. Decreases the cooldown of Jungle Ambush, that's that one, by 2 turns, helping to keep the Perfect Veil on you. While not under a Veil or Perfect Veil buff, attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense and a 25% weaken debuff on the target for 2 turns before attacking. Places a Perfect Veil buff on this champion for 2 turns after attacking. So yeah, there's a lot of if this or that, which I'm not a big fan of personally. So, but you know, he sounds like a sort of interesting champion, and I don't know that Lizardmen really have AoE decreased defense. Obviously, you've got Razin's a good one for decreased defense and decreased weaken on a single target, but multi-target, I don't know that we've really got it there, so that is really good, at least. And then his passive places a block debuffs and a 25% strengthen buff on this champion for 1 turn, and a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns whenever they receive a Veil or Perfect Veil. So that makes him kind of tanky. He's going to get those Veils, he's not going to be getting targeted, so that's really cool. And you got Iron Brago, I believe this is the chap who we're getting for the fusion. He's a legendary spirit defense champion with the Orcs. Again, takes 1, 2, 3, 4 books, 6 and 6. Wow. $16 books. Yeah. Bonkers, absolute bonkers. That's the only thing to say about it. Plarian, please pay attention to people. We don't want this. You're trying to get more books out of us, get us to spend more money on buying the books. All you're going to do is make people leave the game, and then you're going to lose all your money that you income from this. You know, be sensible. This is just a bad move. Players like myself who do spend money are going to look at this and say, you know what, you're just trying to bleed me dry, I'm not going to spend money, I'll find a different game. Players who don't spend money will be like, ridiculous. What's the point of me getting legendaries that I can't ever book out? And it's harder for them to get legendary books since they're not buying them anyway. Either way, you're going to lose players. It's not a good move. Get on it. You either need to start lowering this dramatically, or you need to give us a way to farm the books. So, his A1, Molten Pummeling, attacks one enemy, has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn, so that's not too bad. Places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 3 turns, then attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 2 turns instead if the target is under 2 or more buffs. So you've got a good, you increase defense out there on everybody, good chance of doing a stun. It's only on 1 enemy, so that's not amazing. It's on a turn cooldown, but the graphics gone a bit messed up there, so I can't quite make out how many turns it is. And then down to, same there, I think that one's actually 6, comes down to 5. This one I can't quite tell, but I think it's 4, down to 3. And then we've got his A3, Battlestorm, attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing Provoke debuff for 1 turn, also places 50% decrease attack debuff on all enemies for 2 turns if he's under an increased defense buff. So you got lead off with this, and then he does this and he puts out the decrease attack. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the do this then this again. Why not just let him do it? It's not a broken move. Decrease attack. Then he's got a passive, bestow strength, increases defense of all allies by 10% of this champion's defense. Now this I quite like, that's nice. So you're going to make your whole team more defensive, more tanky, and you put him on with other tanky champs, and they're really going to be a lot harder to take down. So yeah, he's a very good champ for that. I did miss out the aura I realised on the previous champion, increase ally crit rate in Doom Tower battles by 23%. Personally, I'd just say it should be all battles. Doing that I mean, increased crit rate is not something a lot of people tend to worry too much about anyway, so I personally wouldn't worry about it. But anyway, this chap also has increased allied defense in Doom Tower battles by 34%. It's a nice solid one. It's only in Doom Tower battles though. So that's the legendaries, and we've actually got some really cool epics here that actually I almost think are better than some of these legendaries. But again, look at the books. Look at the books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books on the A1. 8. That is ridiculous. Then we've got another 5 on that one and another 2 down here. Just, yeah. Anyway, we've got Melga Steel Girdle. She's an epic spirit affinity HP champion with the dwarves faction. Good, we do need more dwarves, although we really do need more dwarf legendaries, so I wish they'd get to work on that. But we also need more dwarf epics, so that's still a good move. I am happy with that one. Inspiring Violence, Array 1 attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of removing one random debuff from a random ally. It's okay, it's not brilliant, and it's certainly not worth all the books to increase the chance to remove the debuff. It's kind of pointless. Sheer Grit Array 2 places a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Also places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, can be booked down to 3. I do like that ability, it makes her a very useful champion. Then we've got Glorious Return. Now this is a very good one. Basic revives 2 random allies. We'll leave the basic out. The Ascended's important. Revives 2 random allies with 20% HP and 20% turn meter. Also places a shield buff on the revived allies for 2 turns, equal to 30% of their max HP. The only negative here is it is on a 7-turn cooldown and can be booked down to 5, which is still a long cooldown on it. But if you haven't got some decent revive champions, or any revive champions for, say, Dwarf Faction Wars, that is going to come in very handy if you can pick her up. So, and could be the difference between you 3-starring it and not 3-starring it. So definitely a good champion. Chancellor Yasmin, Rarity Epic, Force Affinity Support, Banner Lords, Array 1 Resounding Smash, this basic, which is pointless, and an Ascended, which attacks one enemy and places an extra hit if the target has no active buffs. Well, that doesn't happen that often, but you know, and it's neither here nor there really, so it sounds kind of crap. Again, she takes 4 books, 4 books, and 4 books, so 12 in total. Not totally busted, but not brilliant either. Touch of Vigor, Array 2 heals an ally by 40% of their max HP, heals by 60% instead if the ally has 50% HP or less. Again, making it by their max HP is pointless, so you might as well have just made it your max HP and build her out for HP, and at least then she's halfway decent. But at the moment this one sounds kind of crap to me. Lulling Chant has a 50% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, then placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn on all enemies who have active buffs. Can be booked down to 4 turns, but again, personally I'd just not use her anyway, she doesn't seem that good to me. Vorgoth, Spirit Affinity, HP based champion with the Undead Horde Zoos epic. Stop doing undead champions, we just don't need any more. They're a brilliant faction, I do enjoy them, but they're so full. Why not be just doing more dwarves and more lizardmen and factions that really need some love? It's bonkers that they keep releasing more and more undead hordes that we just don't need them. So his A1 Horrendous Strength attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of a random debuff on the target by 1 turn. So that's pretty nice. Useful for clan boss. Each hit has a 30% chance as well. This can be booked up to 40, so that's quite good. Does take 5 books. Then we've got Wave of Revulsion. Attacks all enemies, has a 60% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Also has a 60% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns on target who receive a provoke debuff from this skill. It's alright, it doesn't really scream clan boss to me because I don't think the clan boss can be provoked. This is screaming Doom Tower again, for bosses there. And I suppose this could help for that as well. Festering Dynamo is passive, so he's only got these 2 abilities, and he's got 2 active abilities, and he's got 2 passives. Festering Dynamo, whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies by 50% of the damage received. Only heals by 25% of the damage received from boss attacks. This champion only receives half of the heal that all of our allies receive. Again, okay, but not anything too special, I don't think. Heavy Presence. When an attack places a leech debuff on the attacker for 2 turns, if the attacker is under a provoke debuff placed by this champion, also has a 70% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on the attacker by 2 turns. Occurs once per attack. So this one's pretty nice, but again, it's a shame it's limited to this champion doing it. Otherwise you could have some interesting comps pairing him with other people who provoke and stuff. Armina, rarity, magic. Rarity is epic. Magic affinity, attack based barbarian champion. Discipline staff is the A1. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 35% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. You can increase this up by a further 10%, so to 45. That's okay. Trampling Rampage, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Steals 7.5% of the turn meter from targets under decreased defense debuffs. This can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown, so that's pretty nice. And it can also be booked up to 100% chance to place the buff. So you've got an AoE, decreased defense with a turn meter still, that's quite nice. Ear Splitter Bellow decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 20%, has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff. For 1 turn on enemies who have their turn meters fully depleted. So she throws out stuns, even more stuns if she manages to deplete their turn meter, and yeah, this is pretty cool. The debuff chance here is 10, 15, 20, 25. So again, this can be booked up to 100% chance of placing a stun if their turn meter is fully taken away. And that's not bad. It's not brilliant, that part. They might as well have just done that anyway, really, without booking it. But the decreases turn meters of all enemies by 20% is a nice move. You couple that with this one, she's going to be stealing turn meter left, right and centre. Head of Steamer, passive, fills this champion's turn meter by 10% each time an enemy receives a stun debuff. So that actually synergizes really well. She's going to be stealing turn meter anyway, and then also increasing her turn meter if she lands stuns. So I do like this champion, sounds very interesting. Next up we've got Sala the Mourner, epic void champion support with the Bannerlords. She looks more kind of like the undead, to be honest, with that makeup job, but you know. Lance of Penitence, attacks 1 enemy, has a 40% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. I do like that on an A1, that's not bad. You can book it, it takes a lot of books again, 5 books, but you can book it up by a further 15%, so 55%, which isn't too bad. On a single hit or on an A1 though, it's not that reliable. Pair her with counter-attack champions, she's going to have more chance to do it, but it's still, yeah. And we've got Waves of Grief. Again, sounds definitely much more like a undead one, but okay. Her A2 attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Also places a 50% increase attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. The books on this, 8 books. absolutely bonkers. Brings it down, you can increase the chance by 10, 15, 20, 25. So 25, so 100% chance of placing a decreased attack, which isn't too bad. And you're going to get the increased attack on your team, so that's cool. It's on a 3-turn cooldown if you fully book it out. Then we've got Requiem, revives all dead allies with 75% HP, then fills their turn meters by 50%, also places a 60% increased defense buff and a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 3 turns. This I really like and makes her a really cool champion. She's got an aura that increases ally speed in the Doom Tower battles by 24%, so she's going to be useful for a lot of up and comers having a go at the Doom Tower, I think. But damn the books. I swear I've said that in the last couple of these breakdowns for updates. They really need to learn. Anax, epic spirit attack champion with the undead hordes, another undead like we need them. Piercing shotels, whatever that is. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Not bad. The A2 Deathly Ichors attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff and a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns. I do like that. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, can be booked down to 3 with 6 books. You can get the buff chance up to 100% of placing the decreased accuracy. Soul Feast attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weaken. Again, that can be booked up to 100%. The debuff lasts for 2 turns, heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted, so that's not too bad. Then we've got Revenant, a passive, places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns when their HP drops below 75%. Places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns when their HP drop below 50%. And then there's an active effect, grants an extra turn when this champion's HP drops below 10%. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, no books involved. How many more we got? Way too many, way too many. Right, this is already a very long video. I do not want to drag this out. I'm not going to go through every single. We'll skim them and do it quicker. Farakin, the fat epic spirit attack champion with the barbarians. He's got 40% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. That's not too bad on A1. Attacks one enemy, 75% chance of placing a HP burn and 2 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns. Sounds kind of cool for clan boss at the moment. You've got poison and HP burn and decreased defense all in one champion. On a 3-turn cooldown when booked. His A3's on a 6-turn cooldown, can be booked down to 4, and he can increase crit rate, increase crit damage, except for on him, for 3 turns. Then all allies except this champion will attack one target enemy, so that's pretty cool. He's got ally attack, bumps up everybody's crit rate. If you know you've got him on the team, you don't have to build everybody for a full crit rate, although to be fair, you're still going to want it really, because unless it's done in an aura that you're going to use, you're not always going to get that, which means when you're not using that particular ability, they're going to have a lot less chance to crit. So again, I'm not a big fan of increased crit rate moves. Increased crit damage, on the other hand, I do like that. Increases the crit damage. The crit rate still could come in handy if you've got champions who are just a little bit shy of having that 100%. It means they're more likely to actually fully crit, so that's still useful but not brilliant. And then they're going to go in and hit. So again, definitely a very good one for clan boss, I think. And then we've got body block. It's passive, deflects 20% of all incoming damage. This champion will receive Deflects 20% of all incoming damage this champion receives onto all allies. So it basically just spreads out all the damage, keeping him up, which is weird for an attack-based champion. He sounds more like a support champion with what he's doing, and the fact that he's not buffing himself or anything. Then you got Duke, the Pierced. He's a magic defense champion with the Orcs, another one. Attacks one enemy 2 times each hit, has a 30% chance of placing a 50% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns. Not brilliant but not bad. Attacks all enemies on his A2, has a 75% chance of placing a decreased attack for 2 turns. Also has a 75% chance of placing 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns on each critical hit. So obviously you build him out for full crit. That can be booked down to 3 turns. You can also book it up to 100%, which is nice. A very useful champion for the Orcs, I think. Although they do already have some AoE decreased defense, but having more out there is not necessarily a bad thing. Then we've got his A3 places provoke. Also has a one target enemy and has a 75% chance of placing provoke debuff for 1 turn on 2 random enemies. So it's a weird one, but okay. It's got reflect damage and an unkillable buff on this champion for 1 turn on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. With the decreased defense, I'm sure some people will work him out for clan boss in. And he's got an increases allied defense in faction crypts by 31, so useful there. Sanguina, however you pronounce that one. Magic affinity support champion with the Sacred Order. Again, looks a bit more undead, like she's got blood running down her eyes, but okay. Attacks one, or maybe Knight Revenant, but you know, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of 2 random buffs on the allied by target allied by 1 turn. So that's not too bad. We walked up to 30. Places a block debuffs on all allies for 1 turn and a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of transferring all debuffs from this champion to the target, removes all debuffs from all allies except for this champion, increases ally accuracy in Doom Tower by battles by 55% or 55, so that's not bad, could be useful. Old Hermit Jorg, magic support with the Orcs. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing a HP burn debuff for 2 turns. Places a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns, fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. That's quite nice. This guy's not too bad for books. You've got 4 there, and then taunt each of these, both of which do cooldown, so that can come down to 3 turns. So can this. This comes down to 5 turns. Revives 2 random allies with 60% HP, then fills their turn meters by 40% and places a perfect veil buff on them for 2 turns. Again, very handy. It's nice having champions like this. I mean, the Orcs do have a revive champion, but not a very good one. And she can only revive 1 champion, so the fact that this guy does 2 of them, it's on a long cooldown, but I'd say this guy's probably worth your time and worth your books, especially if you need him for faction wars. And we've got the last one here, Hugo. Magic support, Ogre in Tribes. Attacks one enemy, has a 35% chance of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns. The chance increases by 5% for each enemy alive, so that's quite cool. So that's actually, if everybody's there and alive, you can maybe increase that by another, 20% or something, so get it up to 50, that's not too bad. Obviously against clan boss it's not going to be ideal because there's only one of him, so you've only got a 40% chance. Then we've got attacks all enemies, has 75% chance of placing decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, also has a 50% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Then the chance of placing block buffs debuff increases by 5% for each enemy alive. this can be brought down to a 3-turn cooldown with books, and you can put it up to 100% chance to land the decreased defense. Then we've got removes all heal reduction debuffs from all allies, then removes 1 random buff from all allies, then heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP. If all allies are dead, revives them with 50% HP, then fills their turn meters by 50% instead. This is on a 6-turn cooldown, can be booked down to 4. This I actually really like. The other bits are kind of okay, not too bad, but I think he'll be very useful for faction wars and quite possibly Doom Tower. Final Spite's passive places a 30% increased speed buff and a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever this champion's last living ally is killed. The idea obviously being here that he basically takes no damage, survive if he can. That 1 turn and the extra speed boost might just be enough to get you back round to this, depending on how many cooldowns it's got to go. But if it is, then it helps you bring everybody back up. So I do like that. It's got good synergy with the rest of his moves, and all in all, we've got some really cool champions here that I think will help a lot in their respective areas and factions, and possibly for Doom Tower. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you bared with me for this long. Sorry it's a long video, but there was a lot to go through, and I will catch you in the next video. IceMan out.